pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are you on, Joel?
I'm on.
You're the chair.
Oh, okay. Thanks for that notice. Okay, very well. I've got the pulling the agenda up here. Well, I think I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Also move. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes. All right, the motion passes. Okay, next issue on the agenda. We've got our claims and reports. Those were available in the packet. We've got a consent agenda. If everybody's had an opportunity to look at it, does anybody want to pull anything out, or does somebody want to make a motion to approve? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron.
Yes. All right, the motion passes to approve the consent agenda items. Now is the opportunity for public comment. Would anybody who is present, either on the phone or in person, like to address the commission? Go ahead.
Matt Lowy, live south of Lenox in Delaware Township. And I've got some issues with the medical cannabis ordinance. If this isn't the time and the place to talk about that, I can come back at a different time. If you'd like me to just go through some stuff with it, I'm okay with that too.
Yes, sir. This is the opportunity for public comment. So go ahead and you have 5 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Perfect, thank you. And this will be pertaining to the ordinance that was last stated that I had, 729. I believe that's still the current ordinance on there without any revisions. Pertaining to medical cannabis. Upon reading that ordinance, I agree with most of the proposed rules and regs, but I do have a few comments that I feel could maybe be useful in part of the discussion. If I can, I'll just roll through some of the definitions where I could see maybe some changes and then into the actual operations of the cannabis facilities. So item number 1 in that definitions area, where it says the allowable amount of cannabis. So it'd be, I'm not gonna go through the whole ordinance, but just to kind of verify it here, a little letter C and D in that item number 1 would be pertaining to cultivation for personal use. It's my gut feeling that this is a can of worms for people to open up here. It's gonna be really hard for the doctors that prescribe this stuff to manage that. And then also for enforcement if the patients decide that they don't abide by the 2-plant rule. So that's kind of a warning from my side. Also in the definitions section, it'd be item number 23 in that ordinance would be written certification. I'd like to see language added there that would add some of the statements that we typically see on a prescription or other prescription drugs, like duration of use, dosage, and then method or form of use, like a pill, tincture, ointment, or whatever. Ordinance states that the medical cannabis card is going to be required, and the doctor will need to talk about their actual condition and their rationale for use. But I don't see anywhere in the language that it talks about the actual prescription, and I think that's necessary. So after that, I'd move on to some of the operations of the cannabis facilities, and mainly my concerns are in zoning here. If we talk about a dispensary, I first feel that 1,000 feet is a great idea from a school or daycare. That's really a good part of that. I'd like to see that also kind of made sure that that was zoned in the commercial districts, similar to some other pharmacies, or at least if a pharmacy could maintain that, the regulations and then manage that. I'd really like to see that where a dispensary or that kind of idea go. The rationale for me is if we're gonna treat this like medicine, should be treated like medicine that other medicines are currently being treated like. And then if you move on to the cultivation, manufacturing, and testing, that part of it, again, I think 1,000-foot setback from schools and daycares is a great idea. I'd also like to see that zoned into like some light industrial areas or districts. That stuff is very scalable. The production, I think, would be very scalable like other production systems would be. And the economy of scale is gonna be important if somebody's gonna manufacture this stuff or grow this stuff as a need arises, as that industry may or may not grow. First thing you're gonna do is expand your facility and not add another facility. I think it's probably in the public's best interest to be able to put that in the industrial zoning or even outside of the county if it needs to be. Reduces conflict with other people, allows for some traffic, the security and all that stuff. It gets it out of town or over to the edge where industry is being held. The other side of that is how much sheer volume are we gonna need? Or the patients, I can't imagine that we're gonna need more than 1 or 2 facilities in the region to be able to manage the volume that patients could be predicted to have. So thinking if we can, as a community, as commissioners, as a public, if we can manage that properly, get it into the industrial zones where I think it's probably important or pertinent, I think it could be a very useful option for medicine. If we don't manage that correctly, get it into the wrong zoning requirements, areas, this whole system kind of becomes a joke for medical cannabis. And then the infrastructure that gets built, in my opinion, would be a segue for the recreational marijuana, which is an entire different topic. That's what I have for today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Is there any other members of the public who would like to speak today? Okay, hearing none, do any of the fellow commissioners have a report they'd like to make?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to report to our commissioners and to the public. We had our county association had its convention in Rapid City. It was well attended. And we had a tremendous speaker who is a former member of the SPY network for our country. And the resolutions that were passed by the association, I think that most of them deal with some not necessarily statewide things. They're kind of a regional one affecting tax property. But the one that probably will be one that will be brought forward again is that to try and get a quarter-cent sales tax to address buildings and county property. It will be sponsored from Cottington County, and it has been up in front of the legislature before. There was a good deal of discussion on its viability, but the majority of the individuals there decided that they wanted to take another run at that. And basically, other than that, county business being what it was, we talked a lot about how we need to look at various spending of this stimulus money that has been given to various counties and how they have disseminated that. Many of them are looking at sewer and water projects for their communities, and that was kind of very informative. But other than that, it was well attended, and I think that, well, I think Sherry was there. We had good representation from our elected office. Our auditor was there, Register of Deeds was there, and our treasurer was there. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Schmidt. Any of the other commissioners want to make a report this morning on anything? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next order of business here. On our regular business agenda, issue number 1, the 2022 Local Emergency Management Performance Grant by our Emergency Manager Director, Harold Timmerman.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is just an annual agreement that gets sent out every year by our state office. Once it's signed, I need to get it back to my regional coordinator, and it will be then signed by the people in Pierre. Any questions that any of you may have on this document? Mr. Golden has looked through it and sees nothing amiss with it. It's pretty similar every year, other than over the time, they've cut our funding back and made us do more stuff. So other than that, it's pretty much cut and dried.
If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2022 Local Emergency Management Performance Grant.
Also move.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes. Okay, the agenda item passes. Thank you. Item
Yes, I do have one
Yes,
question.
Harold, go
Being
ahead.
You're not here today, nor our current chairman. When will this be signed? I need to get it to my regional coordinator before the end of the month.
Harold, I'll be down there later, possibly later today, so I can sign it then.
That'll be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to action item number 2 under regular business, appraisal and sale of county property, parcels number 260.20.07.003 and parcel number 230.10.05.014 by Madam Auditor Sherry Lund.
So 260 is a property that is located in Beersford. We took tax deed on it in April of 2021. So we need to set up an appraisal committee. We did do the surplus of it up in the consent. So I just need appraisal committee set up for both of these properties and authorization to advertise.
Sherry, what's the parcel number 230? What's that parcel?
That is a 2-foot strip in the city of Worthing.
Yeah.
It was, when they did I can't think of the word. When they did the property lines there, it ended up being a 2-foot strip between the city's property and the old bank building went to tax deed.
Okay. I will, do we have any volunteers serve on the appraisal committee?
I'll volunteer to serve on both, Mr. Chairman.
You need additional, how many?
I do. I need 2 more.
Okay, I'll help Commissioner Schmidt.
And then
All right, we got 2. I'll be the third one. I'll do it as well for both of those. So, is there a motion by any of the members to appoint the volunteers to the committee?
Also moved, Mr. Chairman, that 3 commissioners, Commissioner Gibbon, Commissioner Aaron's, and Commissioner Schmidt will serve as the evaluators for the 2 said properties.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes. Motion passes. Action item number 3, Lincoln County Courthouse HVAC improvement bid results by Mr. Rombo.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
So this was the project that was brought about because of talking to engineering after the old courthouse investigation stuff that we were doing, and this was improvements to this newer building. So I bid it out into a base bid, an alternate 1, and an alternate 2, and I felt like the bids came back good, and so would like to suggest that we accept Beatty Forsyth with all 3 bids, base, alternate 1, and alternate 2.
John, what did the bid amount come back as?
The base bid was $29,000, alternate 1 was $30,000, and alternate 2 was $38,000. So I guess I didn't do the math, but it's, $97,000 total?
Well, John, Beatty Forsyth's a reputable firm, certainly a reputable firm. Since they had the lowest bid for $29,000, I would move that we accept that.
Got a motion. Do we have a second?
Are you accepting the alternates on it?
Whatever our building and ground superintendent recommends,
I recommend that we do all 3.
all 3. My motion is for all 3.
I'll second.
Got a motion and second to accept the base bid and the 2 alternate bids. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes. We'll move on to the next action item under regular business with Mr. Rombo again. That is courthouse HVAC upgrades and the contractor agreement.
So
What's going on here, John?
it's the same thing, I just wanted to be able to move forward and get the contract signed today. If you guys
Okay.
approved all 3.
So we just need the motion to accept the contract, or to execute the contract.
Okay. Well, since I made the motion to accept all 3, I'll make a motion to sign the upgrades, HVAC upgrades for it. And I have a question on that, John. So this will improve the air quality in the old courthouse, correct?
Temperature control
Or
for sure.
temperature control?
Yeah, I mean, there'll be
Well,
some, yes, and
indirectly.
air quality, but
Yeah.
more temperature control, yeah.
Is that those old heaters? You know, we got steam heat, does that
No,
change?
this is all with this building. So
Oh.
it's just areas that we've had problems
Yeah.
with since the building was built and trying to correct them.
So your stairways won't be so warm and all the
Correct.
temperature, they'll be more regulated.
Correct.
If this also improves air quality, can it fairly be said that it helps control, things in the air like COVID and things like that?
We are,
For the purposes of, using COVID mitigation funds to pay for this?
no, because we already did that improvement early on last year with COVID stuff. And, I mean, all this is gonna basically do is give a higher level of comfort and move the air better. So, I mean, it'll coincide with that a little bit, but I can't say that it would be easy to justify that as a COVID expense.
Okay, thank you, John. Well, we've got a motion on the table from Commissioner Schmidt. Is there a second? Or are there any other questions for Mr. Rombo before we get to that?
I'll second the motion.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Thank you,
Motion
Commissioners.
passes. Thank you. All right, so the next order of business on our agenda here before we, I don't know if we're gonna recess or move our meeting to a different locale here, but we've got our 9 a.m. county bus tour with Jesse Fonkert and the Sioux Metro Alliance. So just so the public knows today, what's gonna happen here is because there is the possibility that, 3 commissioners at any one time may be on the bus tour. We've determined that it's a public meeting. It's open to the general public. And so if the public wants to join us on the tour, they're certainly welcome to. And that'll be starting here at 9 a.m. today. And Jesse has the agenda for the rest of the commissioners. So I don't think we need to take any action on that action item. But one thing we do need to discuss is there a need for any executive session here today at all? No. Okay, so hearing none, I guess what I'll do is, we're technically not going to adjourn. We're just gonna move to a different location. And, at the end of the day, we'll, have a short brief meeting in order to, adjourn the commission at the end of the tour. So, with that, we'll sign off on the video here and we'll move
Acting
to the
Chairman?
tour.
Commissioner
Yes, sir.
Poppins. I think we maybe should see how many people are going as commissioners. I myself had not signed up for the tour. I believe Commissioner Schmidt is not attending. My only reason for this is if we don't have a quorum at the end of the tour, we may not be able to adjourn. So if we don't have a quorum, we could go ahead and adjourn and let those that are, if there's just 2 going or less, go ahead and go on the tour, and we'd be in compliance.
That's a good point, Commissioner Poppins. And I'll be joining the tour later today, so I won't be there this morning. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would so move to adjourn, because I believe Commissioner Gibbon, you're going, and I believe Commissioner Aaron's are the only 2 that will be on that tour, so I would move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes, we're adjourned. Thank you.